Hi, this is Tanya Sheridan with InAllSassiness.com, and today I'm going to take you through the July and August pages of my Sassy Perpetual calendar. So before we get started, and you can pause if you need to, I wanted to share with you the tools that you're going to need. You're going to need some foam tape. I prefer the thin, but you can use thin or thick. The foam dots are very, very helpful. You'll need an adhesive runner, a piercing tool, or something to move things around with, whatever works for you. You have your choice for the August of the stickles, if you would like to use the stickles. I am going to be using let's see, I don't remember which one this one is. I think it's platinum. You could also use goldenrod. So you could use either one, but I'm going to use the platinum. And then your liquid glue. So I like the Tombow Mono Liquid Glue, the blue one, but of course you can use whatever that you would like. Okay, so we are going to get started with July. July is a little bit tricky because similar to February, you're going to be using a stencil. And so the stencil I just cut out of white daisy cardstock. So it's a little bit tricky to see, but you'll figure it out. It's pretty easy. And that is going to give you the pattern so that you get all of these little hearts and stars in the right place. Now, don't feel like you have to use the stencil or the pattern. You can freehand if you want, or freelance, however you want to do it. But for me, it helped me get those into position. So before we do that, we're going to slide the piece up a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and put our borders at the bottom. So I have red at the bottom and then blue. You, of course, can do it opposite if you prefer. It's totally up to you. These are using the glitter papers. So they are absolutely gorgeous. I will say, sorry, they are not red and blue. They are scarlet and sapphire. So if you're looking to order more of those papers, that's what you will be looking for. So I'm going to glue those down. Now these I actually, mine were actually exact. I think this was the first one I did before I decided to cut them a little bit big. Okay, so I'm using my foam here in my sign just to make sure that this thing doesn't wiggle. Now, you can tape this down if you want to. I usually use washi tape when I'm using a stencil, but I didn't grab any, so I'm just going to kind of position it about right there. Do make sure that you're conscious of this hole, okay? That is going to be important. And we are going to start by emptying out our little piece. Now this has lots and lots of tiny, 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 tiny pieces. So, you know, some of you might not want to include all of those little pieces, and that is perfectly fine. I think that most of the bags have a few extras in case you drop them or you reposition something or what have you. So just kind of know that you should have a few extras. Get that last little guy out. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. So the first thing that we're going to do for this one is we're actually going to find the red glitter United States. And again, be very careful. The glitter paper does stick to itself. And there's lots of little places like up in the Great Lakes where the little pieces want to stick. So we're going to put all of those down here. And we're going to take out our United States. Now the United States is going to go on top of the glitter paper, but I did pop it up. So I'm going to flip it over. You can see it better over here. This is where those dots come in better because they get into small spaces. And you don't have to coat every single thing, I mean cover every single thing. Just kind of give it a little bit of support along the edges. Of course, you don't want to cross over the words, because if you cross over the words, then the glitter isn't going to show. And I have two little pieces there, so instead of pulling on my other tape, I am just going to cut one of these. They are easier to cut on the carrier sheet. You have a little bit more control. And then put that down in those spaces. Just like that. And I think I need one more up there. Now, you of course don't have to do this. You don't have to add the foam. I just really liked the way that it added a little bit of character. So I'm going to pull these foam pieces, or the film, off of the foam, the backings. And then we're going to attach this to our red glitter paper. If you are not using foam tape and you're adhering it direct, then you want to use a strong adhesive because it doesn't work super great if you don't. Okay, so this should be a pretty tight fit, just like that. Okay, then we're going to flip it over and we're going to add adhesive to the back of our country. Glue it back together. Okay, and then you're going to fit that in right there. Okay, now if you want to scooch it a little bit off to the left or right, you can see how mine over here, I have a tiny, tiny shadow of the red glitter showing. You could certainly do that, but I'm going to go straight with this one. Okay, so then what I did was I found my bigger pieces first, because those were the easiest to find and the easiest to put in. Now, once you have your United States in, even if you did not use washi tape, that pretty much is going to hold the stencil pretty close to being in place. So that's kind of a bonus. Just like with the other one, you want to make sure it's down. So it's kind of nice to be able to wiggle this guy around a little bit to make sure it's down. Okay, so then I'm going to do my big blue heart. And you might not have the exact pieces that I have. You might have a few more bigger blue hearts or red hearts or what have you. Just kind of the way the Cricut cut. Okay, then I'm going to do my large red heart or scarlet heart, or excuse me, star. And I have a silver large star. That one's going to go at the bottom. And of course, again, you can mix these up however you want. Then the blue isn't quite as big as the red, the largest of the blue stars. So that one's going to go over here, just like that. Okay, so then I'm going to slide over these two pieces. We're going to put those on at the end. You will find that most of you have the letters J-U-L-Y for July that cut out of the United States. I didn't have a need for them, but I thought that, you know, you might want to use them on something else. So most of you will have those in your packs unless they fell or stuck to the Cricut mat or what have you. Like, it doesn't look like I have a U, but I have everything else. That's kind of funny. Okay. All right, so now we have a blue one up here, and see how they're sticking together. So just be really careful. So that one's going to slide up there. And then there's a bigger red star down here. So that's going to slide in. There's a blue heart over here. It's often really tricky to get the adhesive runner on these small pieces. So it might be better to add a dab of glue. And that's what you're going to see me do in a second. Okay, so I have basically most of my bigger hearts in there. So now I have a couple of this next size down. I have a silver one, which is going to go over here. Just like that. And then I think the rest of these, there's another red star somewhere. Which one did I miss? It looks like it's up here, but that's too big. So we're gonna wait on that one and we'll glue that down afterwards. Okay. Oh, I see it's right here. So for that one, you know what we're gonna do? Just a dot of glue. Now, I'm going to do the glue, and then when we go to pull this off, we're actually going to let it sit for a couple hours, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. Because if you go to pull this template off and these haven't glued down, then they're going to come right back up. So the Valentine, the pieces weren't nearly this small. So we're going to leave that little guy there. That's when the piercing tool comes in handy, if it won't stay. Okay, so now you can choose of these other pieces which ones that you want to put in, which ones you don't. There is a big one up here. Not big, but bigger than the others. again, that piercing tool really helps to get it into position. Now with the Mylar, make sure, or the foil, make sure you don't press too hard or you're gonna lose, you're gonna scratch the silver foil. This is a silver one. Okay, so up here we have tiny red. So we're going to slide that one into position. And then over here we have some more silvers. And again, it's okay to not, I know sometimes people have a hard time with their hands. It's okay to not fill every single one. You're still going to have the general heart pattern. Now this was not a close to my heart image. This was one, I think I'm pretty sure that the word July is a close to my heart font. And the United States came from, I'm pretty certain, the close to my heart cartridge, but the other one I just bought in Design Space on Cricut. It was probably designed more for printing than cutting out because of all the tiny, tiny pieces, but I really liked it. Now, if you don't want to do the smaller ones, you could also use the template and use your markers and fill those out. That would certainly be an option. And just color them all. Okay, so now we have some more silver. There's one down here. Mine isn't quite as big, just a hair smaller. That's okay. And then you have these 3 or 4. So the tiny, tiny baby one is blue. And then the other ones are all red. Just like that. We're going to slide those in. We're going to slide one in up here. Hopefully I'm not going too fast for you guys. And then this red one here. And then in that tiny, tiny one there, it's going to be blue. And that, again, is where the piercing tool really comes in handy to get that little piece down. Okay, so now going upward, we still have a red star and a silver star. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dab of glue in each of those. I can get it exact. There we go. And here is the silver. It's stuck to my finger. So we're going to slide this around. Make sure it goes in the hole. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but right there, there is a red one. It's kind of going sideways, and down here, there's a red one going sideways. So you can go ahead and fill those in. We're going to slide those guys in just like that. And then here's another red one. Actually, it looks like it's smaller. I think it's probably this one. Oops, and it flipped. And it went under my United States. There we go. I tell you, your piercing tools are really your best friends. They are so helpful. This little guy jumped out. Okay, so now we have a silver one up here. We're going to slide this one in too. And that one is red. Oops, that I just dropped, but that's okay. This would be one of those to be good to work on in a space where you don't have anything else going on, which is usually not the case for me. See, I'm going to do another silver one. Actually, I don't have any more silver, so I'm going to put a red one up there. Just like that. And I'm going to put a blue one here. that one. And then I'm going to do a red one right here. Oops. That little guy wiggled away too. Okay. See if I can get him down a little bit more. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to actually pull the stencil off, but you want it to dry first, okay? Because otherwise your little hearts are just going to jump, or hearts and stars. So I'm going to just tuck this here because I certainly don't want to forget it. And you can use whatever measurement. Mine isn't lined up exactly, but that's one of the cool things about the Versamark, or the Versamat, is you can tell I'm a little bit higher than 6. So over here, I can line that up and be a little bit higher than 6 over here. And just slide it, oops, slide it up. So my 6 comes across, and it's this line. So I'm gonna hold it there and just kind of tuck it underneath my stencil. Because I want to make sure I don't forget that, but I'm not ready to pull the stencil off. Okay, and there you have it. That is the month of July. So allow that to dry, and then once it does, then use your piercing tool like we did with the hearts and hold down each one as you pull the stencil off. Okay, so now we're going to switch, and we are going to do the August. So I'm going to slide these over here. The August one was inspired by a layout that I did that everyone absolutely adored. And it is with the sunflowers. So it's pulling in your bluebell, which is the color of the year, and this really fun graphic. So I'm going to put all of our pieces over here. Again, this one also has some little pieces, not as tiny. So this one's a little bit more forgiving. But the first thing that you're going to want to do is put the gold at the bottom. Now, some of your bags, you will notice, if the pieces were bigger, then I put them in a larger bag. Excuse me. And like this one was the snack size bag, so the bottom fit. But others of them, because the bags were so tiny, that's when you had that one extra bag with all of the strips for the other months. So that's why I wasn't crazy. There was a purpose behind that. Okay, so we have the bottom here. We're going to build our sunflower. Okay, so before you put any glue down, you want to line up your sunflower and make sure that you have it into the right position. There are 2 sides to the piece, so make sure you get the right side. I think I had it right before the first time I did. Okay, so this is going to be best done with your glue. You can do it with otherwise if you wanted, but it's going to be really hard. So I'm going to use my glue. I need to unclog it. I have dropped my lid somewhere and I don't know where my lid is. So unfortunately, when that happens, the glue dries up in the tip if it doesn't have something to cover it all the time. So I am just going down each one of these petals and then that little tiny piece in the center, that really narrow piece, because if you notice around the perimeter of the circle, it is tiny, tiny, and there's really, or narrow, and it's really not wide enough to even attach glue to, which makes it kind of tricky. I'm going to come over on this in case it oozes out. I don't want it to ooze out on my calendar page. And again, you want to just line it up. You can see I did not do a very good job on that. I overshot it. That's okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I have this stuck down, but I have a little excess of glue. So I'm going to put it down like this and then flip it over. And I'm going to grab a baby wipe real quick and wipe it off my hands because I don't want to be sticking to everything. Okay, so if you can see this, you can see that I have put foam tape on the back of this entire piece, okay? So for you, you don't have to do that. That is totally up to you. I like and find it to be challenging and fun to put it on these small intricate pieces, but not everybody does that, and that's okay. You could totally do it flat if you find that that's too tricky. Now you'll notice I'm not going all the way up the flower petal because I want that to be kind of loose. See how it's a little loose there? You could glue it all the way down. That would work as well, but that's not what I'm personally going for. So even if you use as much foam tape as I do, you don't necessarily have to pull it all off, or the film off. I'm just trying to, one, I want it to be popped up, but also I want it to be sturdy. That is what my agenda is. Okay, so I have 2 more. And then I'm going to switch from the wide to the narrow. Now, the good thing about this is that, stick it over here so you can see it better. The good thing is that the piece, the word August, is cut out of glitter paper. So already out of the door, it is going to be stronger than like a regular cardstock, okay? So I'm going to take my narrow and I'm going to cut it pretty much in thirds. And again, you don't have to cover every single space. You could, but I'm only doing basically, you know, to get it so that it's sturdy. So I'm cutting about the same amount. This one ended up being a little bit shorter, but that's okay. I'm just going down. Now, sometimes when you cut it, you almost have to go ahead and pull the film off because it's already caught and loose from your scissors. I found that out the hard way. See how that one just popped right off? So you just have to be a little bit more careful when you're positioning it, but it should still work, okay? Now, I'm not going to worry about the bottoms too much, but I do want to get a tiny little bit. Here with the S, I have a little bit more room because I can scoop it over to my space. And the same thing with that piece there. Okay. So that is basically what that's going to look like. I didn't do it all the way, but on the main parts of the letter just to, you know, to keep it consistent and so forth. Okay, so then the next thing that you're going to want to do, I'm not attaching it down yet, we're going to build it first, is that you're going to attach this piece here. And you can do, this is the greenery, you can do either side. I use the dark side. So again, I'm just going to be really, really careful. Whoops, see how I tore it. I didn't mean to do that. When I glue that down. So I know this allows me also to move it around a little bit, which is very helpful. So I'm going to do that here. And then this piece is going to come, I think I actually did that way. That's good. Okay, let me get these little guys. So these little guys are going to attach one here and one down there, okay? So those are so tiny. I'm going to do those with regular. Again, you want to watch your positioning. You don't want to come down too low. So I'm going to kind of just tuck this one here. Just sort of like that. And the other one's going to go way up at the top. I'm going to use this to kind of position. And I can see I want it about right here. And I told you that I didn't want to cut that, but I would have cut it anyway. I forgot about that. So that little piece just kind of comes out on its own, but it's going to be covered by your sunflower. Okay, so now that those pieces are down, we're actually going to pierce out with our tool all these guys. Probably should have done this first, but that's okay. I'm using the dark side of the center, which is the circle with all those little holes. Sometimes they don't want to pop out. This one wants to be stubborn here. And I actually want that one to go underneath the T. So if you can pull it back up, hopefully you're watching this all the way through first. Let's see if I can get it off. I might not be able to. But you did want to do that first. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll just have to make this one a little bit different. Maybe. Okay, that worked. So I'm going to slide this underneath. I'm going to be careful not to tear my tea because I don't want to do that. There we go. And just kind of press it down. So it took a little bit of work. Hopefully you guys put yours down first. And I do apologize. If you did not and you need me to cut you another one, I will certainly cut you another one. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and I'm going to take off all this foam film, or partially. I don't even have to do, like I said, you don't have to do all of it. On the words, it's probably more important than on the base to pull it off. And then maybe a few of these ends, but you don't necessarily have to do all of them. Now, if you wanted this to be really pretty, not that it's not pretty, but you could add a shimmer brush on the inside of this piece here, and that would look awesome too. So here you can see I got a little bit too far with my foam tape. So I'm just gonna fold it down and press hard. Okay, so then this guy is gonna come right about there. You can give or take it however you want to do it. That is totally fine. We want to turn it. We want our word to go straight, and it wants to turn, so you want to be careful with that. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to layer all of these little flowers on each other. And it's really up to you. Now, you'll notice that there's a hole. This was designed to layer this on a base so that the base showed through that hole. Well, we're going to fill it with the stickles, so it really doesn't matter if that is shown or not. And you don't even have to get these perfect. I did try to layer mine the best that I could. There's some that are 2 attached and there's some that are 1s. So you can do that however you want, but you could flip it if you wanted the light side on some. I like that look. I think it's very pretty to see the mixture, but that is of course up to you. So again, it doesn't really have to fit perfectly. If you want it to, then absolutely go for it. I want a little one up there at the top because I like the little one. Be very, very careful because they are intricate. And as I've said before in the other videos, if you're putting this together and you find that you have made a little mistake or need me to recut something, just let me know. Now, I'm also going to put a few of these up on foam tape. And again, yes, you can see the white very clearly actually, but that's okay because we're going to cover it with those little dots. And the stickles, they will glue on to the foam tape just as easily as they would glue on to the other. So you really don't have to worry about that. I think I want that one up there to be on foam tape too. Foam tape just really enhances it. There we go. This is more of a tight cluster. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And if it doesn't pop out, you don't have to even pop it out. I mean, it's just, we're using it as a guide for where we want to put those little dots. So with this little guy, I'm just gonna kind of tuck. He doesn't even really line up, but I just like that look of the cluster. Okay, so then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your stickles or your whatever accent you want to use, and you're going to color in or fill in the little hole, whether it's a true hole or whether it's the cutout that didn't cut out. That's up to you. And you're going to fill those with this. And the goldenrod would look equally as pretty. I just like this one a little bit better. This is the platinum. Okay, so I've done all of those, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around and do one dot about equally spaced in between each petal. I'm going to skip over the word August, and then I'm going to come back. I'm not doing one up here or there. but I'm going to do about the same area all the way to this one. Now, I'm going to choose not to do it here on this second one because I have more greenery showing than I had up there. But that is just a great way to accent and kind of take the focal point around all of that. You know what? I could probably do one up here because there's more space than what I had in the other one. So you can see that my dots are about equally spaced from the center of where the two petals meet and then all the way around it, okay? And that is it. So that is it for August. I hope you guys have a great night, and whatever you do, make it sassy.